Welcome in to the Modern Dealer Podcast, episode 005. My name is David Farmer with Entice, and with me, as always, is David Bertoncini with #Experts. How you doing, David?
I am feeling alive, feeling good, and ready to get rolling. And then to episode 5, it's good stuff. It's awesome, and we're gonna jump into episode 5. We're looking forward to it, man. Feeling good.
Yeah, so we have a lot of information that we're going to cover with you today. This is, and just for full disclosure, this is the second version of segment 1 of episode 005. A couple technical difficulties here, but we are doing good. The main topic today, David, is going to be Google's Dealer Guidebook. So Google's Dealer Guidebook is a lot of great information that Google has put out about a year and a half ago in late 2017, and it's really designed specifically as how can dealers best use the Google platform to advertise their business, how to use really every aspect of Google, how dealership can use it. So I'm actually going to start by telling you a little bit about this guidebook from Google's perspective. So this is what they say. They say, we built this dealer guidebook to answer the one question we frequently get when working with dealers and their agency partners. How should I best use Google? The guidebook is designed to help dealers prioritize Google's products based on today's shopper behavior and where dealers are with digital. These guideposts will show dealers how to create and capture demand efficiently and effectively from in-market vehicle and service shoppers. Now, in the show notes, we're going to provide a link to this Google slideshow where all the information that we're going to be sharing with this episode is going to reside, and you're going to be able to go through that. On this specific slide, I'm including 3 different links. The first one is kind of a general overview of the dealer guidebook. It would take you about 5 minutes to read, and it provides a real good overview of what the dealer guidebook is. I also included a YouTube video link. The YouTube video is from a couple guys from Google going over about half of the dealer guidebook best practices. It's about an hour long. And
I watched it. I think you and I do a better job, though.
Yeah.
When we go over it, because those guys are just like, they're just like, they do a good job, but they're not you and I. They're not David and David team.
And you know what's really cool, too? So their perspective is from, these are 2 Google employees. So you kind of have to think through, what does it take to become a Google employee and to get to where they're at. Our perspective is I spent 20 years in automotive retail. I spent 10 years in automotive vendor training. So that's kind of where our perspective comes from, is from that perspective. And actually, I think that is what makes the dealer, the Modern Dealer Podcast, a good source for information is because of our background, and it's about what's happening on the showroom floor for salespeople, for sales manager. How can you have a better understanding of what's going on to help you do your job better, sell more cars,
service
provide better,
exactly. Better CSI all around. Just using the fundamentals of just using this here just to do a better job, like you said.
Yep.
So.
And really what it comes down to is sales process. Selling cars is selling cars. It's one of the things I always remember when I was in the business, especially with the guys that's been in the business for a long time. It's like, I don't want to know any of that stuff. I just want to sell cars.
Right. They're just crusty, salty, kind of stuck in their old ways.
But I think...
They had to evolve. I mean, everybody had to eventually evolve, and you start to like, well, I don't use a computer, and then those guys went from index cards to inputting their customers' information from a legal pad to a CRM. Yeah. So I mean, that was the transitions that everybody had to eventually pony up to.
So what we want to do is we want to be able to take all this high-level information that you could go blind reading and researching. We want to be able to distill that for you. It's like, what do you need to know to help you sell more cars? You know, if I was running a dealership right now, I would be upset if I had sales managers and salespeople spending 5 hours a day researching what Google is and how to use Google and how to figure out analytics. Is that, you know, don't pay attention to the pennies, pay attention to the dollars. Salespeople are paid to sell cars. Sales managers are paid to sell cars and help salespeople sell cars. So anyways, we want to be able to go through this higher level information, distill it down into 5, 6, 7, 8 different things that you could take away from this podcast and execute on and have a better understanding. To that end, here's the first link is take you 5 minutes to read. I recommend that you do it. The second link here, this YouTube link, is about an hour long. You know, I don't know what your commute is, but you know, if it's a 30-minute commute in one day to work, from work, you can just put that on your phone, you know, plug in headphones, listen to it, and it would provide a lot of great information. If you want to dig in a little bit deeper and get some more of the best practices, this next document, which is like 60 pages, you can really dig into different areas. So anyways, let's go ahead and move on to the next point. And actually what I'm going to do, David, is I'm going to pop out of this screen here. And let me go into this one that I've got prepared. So this is the bigger document. This is like the 60-page dealer guidebook, best practices for channel and agency partners. And do me a favor, David, just to give me a high-level overview of the 4 different sections that are available in this dealer guidebook.
So you've got the fundamentals, and just to give you, the basics and such. The basics. You've got some differentiators and some growth levers. So as far as the fundamentals goes, if you're not knocking these out of the park, then you're not using Google the right way. As I said there, I mean, you just gotta, dial into this. The basics. Basic is often, like it says here, overlooked. It's a powerful tactic worth prioritizing before the rest. Differentiators, test and true growth strategies. Some dealers are all in while others have not seen the light yet. And I think that just differentiating your dealership in so many different ways using Google is going back to episode 001. Was it the we're going over Google My Business?
Yep.
I mean, that's just one way just to use some of the differentiators. Growth levers, where the savviest dealers are already testing and where Google, our most sophisticated marketing partners, are placing bets. So I mean, that's just figuring out what works best, getting into your Google Analytics, taking a deep dive into everything here. But the 4 pillars, starting with the fundamentals. I mean, let's get into the fundamentals.
Fundamentals. So there's a lot of information that they've included in the fundamentals. I've picked out a couple highlights of each section, a couple in fundamentals, a couple in the basics, and a couple in the other categories. But from a high-level overview, the fundamentals. So as they said here, is that if you're not knocking these out of the park, you are using Google the wrong way. Site experience, making sure it's fast, making sure that it is simple. Paid search and account structure. This is really good just to get a general overview of Google Ads, which used to be called AdWords. Now it's just Google Ads. And then measurement, making sure that you're measuring the traffic that you're bringing to the dealership site. So what we're going to do is we're going to key in on 2 specific areas within the fundamental section. Number 1 is going to be speed, and the next one is how you can build your strategy around the entire customer journey. So, site speed. On mobile, speed and simplicity matter. So their research says that 53% of customers will abandon a mobile site if it takes more than 3 seconds to load. So let's just time that out real ck here. Let's say that you have your mobile device, you go on to xyztoyota.com, you hit go, and you're going 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. If you're not loaded there, more than half of the people that got to your site are going to bail. So, I mean, that's not crazy. It's not a lot of time, no. But as you know, I mean, you're sitting there on, if you're on Facebook, let's say for an example, and you click on a link, if it doesn't load in 2 seconds, 3 seconds most, you think Facebook is broken, right?
Right, or there's something wrong. Like,
there's something wrong. What the hell's going on? You know what I mean? So I mean, it's incredible the how short our attention span has become in this instant results society that we're living in right now.
Yeah, it's got to happen fast. If it doesn't happen fast, then people just get frustrated, and as you see, they bounce out after 3 seconds. It's like, all right, well, this isn't working. Let me go somewhere else.
Yeah. So 3 seconds, that's the threshold, right? So how do you know if your website takes 3 seconds to load or not? Well, Google provides you a way to check. Testmysite.thinkwithgoogle.com is a place where you can test your website. All you have to do is type in your dealership's URL. Now, you can go to Test My Site, and you can do that from a desktop device, or you can do it from your mobile device. It's not going to necessarily give you a test on that specific device. What it's going to do is it's going to test your site in how Google is looking at your site and how long it thinks it's going to take for your website to load. It's also going to tell you why it's not loading fast. So you look at, you can see in this example right now saying that on a loading time on 3G is 6 seconds. Now it's saying that is fair. They're saying 3 seconds is the benchmark. That's where you want to get your dealership website. So you go there, you put your dealership's URL in, you test it, you see that it's not good. Right. I think most people are going to find out it's not good.
Well, that 6 seconds on 3G, I mean, you've got 25% of people basically, will bounce out right there due to that loading speed. As we mentioned earlier, if you're in a rural area, it's going to be slower. But if you're in a metropolitan, a big metro area, I mean, you're going to be on LTE, and this thing should, happen within 3 seconds. Everything should load up. As you mentioned earlier, best way to test this on mobile is, number one, disconnect yourself from a Wi-Fi, be 100% on mobile, and see how it's performing. And this is what your customers are going to go through because, their journey is going to start mostly on mobile.
Yeah. So you can go to Test My Site and you can plug in your URL and you can test it that way, and it's going to give you a lot of great information, and it's going to give you reasons why or different things that you can do to optimize your site. So I recommend doing this test once a month. We do it for our clients that we handle their SEM for, where we'll run not this test, there's actually an advanced test, a lighthouse test that gives a lot more information, a lot more detailed information about your site and how it's reacting on desktop and mobile. And we run that for our dealers, and we send that with their previous month's search engine marketing and analytics report. So they're able to, at least once a month, take a look at what's happening with my paid search, what's happening with my organic search, what's happening with my dealership website. So that's my best practice recommendation. Once a month, make sure you're looking at analytics, make sure you're looking at your Google Ads report, and you're looking at some sort of test my site, which you can easily do here. Now, like I said, when you run this test, you are going to have a few examples of what you can do to improve the overall performance of your dealership website to get that page load speed lower, and you can just send that right off to your website provider. Now, for salespeople that might be watching, this might not be something that's in your purview or something that you have any area of a responsibility for, but if you're in this business for the long run and you're looking to increase your education around what is going to be important as your career develops in automotive, these are things that you're going to be aware of. You can test it, and you can just keep that information to yourself. You can share it with maybe as you're talking to your sales manager. You might be able to have some sort of conversation around that. But either way, I think it's good information to know and have, right?
Because when you become a sales manager or something like that, a good time to, like you said, to test it's on the second of the month, and that's like, hey, we're starting the new month over, or it's a brand new month, we're starting, everybody turn in your goals, how many cars you're going to sell this month, and then, hey, I mean, one of your goals is to check, hey, how fast is our site performing? So just one of those little check-offs just to add to your repertoire of the new month. You know?
So I think you bring out a really good point that I think that can be addressed too, is that you putting these different processes in your monthly in your monthly management process. So speaking to sales managers right now, if you're not doing a one-on-one every single month with every single one of your every one of your salespeople, and going through their goals on a monthly basis, I think you're doing yourself a disservice, your dealership a disservice, and your salespeople a disservice. Building goals on a monthly basis, reviewing what they had done the previous month, it takes a lot of effort, especially if you're in a big volume dealership. There's been times where, as a general sales manager, I did one-on-ones with every one of my salespeople, and we had, at Autoway, we had 52 or 52.
Yeah, it'd take you about
back
3 days to do.
10 years. It would take days and days and days to do one-on-ones, and it's hard. It's a lot of work.
Because you got to break it down. You got to give that salesperson a good 15 minutes to sit down and go through what they did before, get in their head, and find out stuff. But said, hey, it's a good time to hey, let's check out our website speed. Let's see where our salespeople heads are at. Let's plan the month, and moving forward, that's how
fundamentals. The fundamentals. So this is a new fundamental. This is a new fundamental for dealerships in selling cars going into 2020. So the other area that I wanted to jump in on with in this first section is how you can align your paid search account structure in line with how customers are buying. So this is one of the things I liked about this study. This also ties into the omni-channel study for automotive that they released around the same time frame, but it really looks at the buyer's journey and the different micro moments of when customers are engaging with digital and what they're doing at these specific points. So let's just kind of go back and forth on this. So the first one, of course, under the awareness and consideration stage, first one is which car is best moment. So this is going to be further back in the process. This is going to be one of the first times a customer is going to engage and start to decide what is going to work best for me. And I kind of think about this as, I make a decision for whatever reason that it's about time to buy a car. Maybe it's coming up on my lease. I just bumped Fat Thor's head. But maybe maybe it's 3 years. Maybe I'm a little bored. Maybe I've had an accident. But whatever the reason is, it's about time for me to start considering what I want to buy. And I start to look at different vehicles. Hey, that looks pretty good. Maybe I'll just Google that. What is that car? And those are the which car is best for me moments. This is where I'm really going to start to find the brand and really start to look for different reviews, maybe on YouTube, test drives. One of the things I did read in this study, which I thought was really interesting, is that customers today will do twice as many test drives on YouTube than they will in real life. So that's a statistic. They'll do more video test drives than they'll do actual test drives.
Interesting.
So I think that's a good thing to understand how much video consumption there is, and give you an opportunity of where you should be advertising and where you should be creating organic content. So what's the next one, David?
Is it the right car? Is it right for me moments? So what's the best car? Is it the right vehicle for them? They talk about the different models, what best fits. They use in these in this document, they were using a mother which had 2 kids and a dog. Like, what's the best brand for her? What's going to be the best model based upon a lifestyle? Which vehicles meet best? Talking about an MKZ, Kia Optima, Volkswagen. For someone that's in that particular awareness, you go into consideration. You're considering a couple different models of vehicles. So, I mean, as a customer's journey advances and you get a little bit closer, I mean, it's just good things to kind of be aware of when you're, putting together advertisements. So, hey, what moment we're gonna capture this customer in, and we're gonna capture them when they're, in the awareness of your brand, and of course that's what you'll see all over the place. Consideration. I was like, all right, so now we're considering different models that's going to meet this mother, which was, I think, if I remember from what it said earlier, 2 kids, a dog, and that she's trying to find the vehicle that's going to best meet her needs. And then of course it goes into, now I found the right vehicle, then it goes into the next one. Which is,
and I think that one way to think about this is that the buyer's journey is going to span everywhere from months back. Is it time for me to buy a car? What brand am I considering? What model am I considering? That you can almost think about those first 2 steps that's the responsibility of the manufacturer to advertise.
Right,
They're
right.
spending millions of dollars on advertising, right? What they're doing is they're going to build the awareness around the new Corolla. They're going to create all these great looking TV spots. And they're going to build that awareness for consideration. The next 3 steps really is going to be what's the responsibility of the dealership? The dealership's responsibility is going to be, hey, I'm a customer. I want to buy a Toyota. I want to buy a Camry. Mm-hmm. Where do I want to buy it? When do I want to buy it? That's when you're going to be, these customers are ready to buy. Moving into that 3rd step, which is the can I afford it moment. Right?
So think of it all as just like a sales funnel. So we at the top of the funnel, we've got awareness and consideration. And of course, as the manufacturer's responsibility is to make everyone aware. Super Bowl Sunday, they're pumping out, Camry commercial. So now consideration. Now, this customer consider a Camry, or will they consider a different, different model of a Toyota? But now they've got that into the back of their head. And now, as you said, now it's the dealer's responsibility to pick up. Can I afford it? Mm-hmm. I think that's actually going to third party, because now people are going to check third party.
Yes.
They're going to go to Car Gurus.
Just like
they're going to go to Kelly Blue Book.
Right?
Yeah, they're going to start checking these third parties to see if the vehicle's affordable, and then moving further into the process, where should I buy it moments. Now that's as a dealer, this is where you need to differentiate yourself different from every other Toyota dealership. Like here in the Tampa Bay area, I mean, if you can spit there, you can put a Toyota dealership there. It's like a Starbucks.
Yeah.
They're all over the place
we got
here.
7 in this market, right? I mean,
a ton.
Yeah,
we have 7 just within a 30-mile radius of this area. Mm-hmm. So, that's a lot of competition. So moving through the funnel, as you said, we got our awareness, we got our consideration. Now when the customer's getting closer, ready to make that purchase, how do we stand out? How do we differentiate ourselves better from the other 6 Toyota stores?
So what we're going to do is we're going to take these ready-to-buy moments, and we're going to translate that into how customers are interacting with Google specifically when we come back from our first break from episode 005. Welcome back into the next segment for 005. Where we left was taking the ready-to-buy moments and be able to translate that into how customers are engaging with the Google platform. So moving on to the next one. Now, you know what I do want to do, David, and I think a lot of people get they get a lot of value out of really getting a good understanding of how a Google AdWords or Google Ads platform is actually built out. I have a slide. I think that you find this pretty interesting. I kind of broke this down in a way to understand AdWords quickly.
That'll help you, and that will actually help me, because sometimes it's a little confusing.
Yeah, absolutely.
But to have like the Modern Dealer podcast, go through it with you and show you, hey, this is what you got to look for. This is, if we could take 2 or 3 things that are most important that stand out that a dealer could use today and kick off right into.
Yeah, and I should have had this up already. I apologize.
That's all right. I'll fill us in while we're scrolling and getting all that ready there for the analytics, which is basically kind of what we're looking at there.
Yeah, so, and just a little bit more information, I put together a digital boot camp and had invited some of our dealers to spend a little bit of time with us. It's a 1-day-long class, and if anybody's ever interested, any of our clients or anybody that's not a client that would like to go through a digital boot camp, please let me know, and I'm more than happy to share this information with you. Here it is, right here. So Drive Digital, a digital dealer or a digital boot camp, essentials for the dealership manager. And again, this is where I really took down a lot of big pieces of information, distilled it down into kind of bite-sized pieces of information. And one thing that I did is broke down the Google Ads structure. So I'm sharing my screen right now where it says the structure. So if you're advertising, you're using the Google Ads platform. It used to be called AdWords. They made that transition earlier this year into Google Ads. If you're going to be advertising on Google Ads, you're going to have an account. That's going to be like the very top level. One account per one dealership. Inside each account, you can have multiple different campaigns. So you could have a brand campaign, you could have a used car campaign, you could have a service campaign. I recommend creating campaigns based on business units within a dealership. Inside of each campaign, you're going to have ad groups. So if you have a new car campaign, you're going to have ad groups for the Yaris, for the Corolla, for the Camry, for the Tacoma, for the Tacoma. Okay. So you might have them by vehicle type or model type.
So, for example, right now, Toyota's got the big one going on, so that would be the campaign.
Well, that would be in a campaign. So what we would do is we actually have an events campaign. Mm-hmm. So inside the events campaign, we would create ad groups. And the way that we would break that out would be having an ad group by vehicle type.
Right.
And then inside that, it would be all about the event, which is the big one.
The big one for the Camry, big one for the Corolla, big one for the Tacoma.
Exactly.
So breaking it down that way into those groups.
And then inside of each ad group, you're going to have ads. Mm-hmm. Okay, and that's one of the other big takeaways that we're going to talk about a little bit later is the type of ads and how they've changed over the last 24 months. But inside that, you're going to have different ads. Each ad is going to have a headline, it's going to have description, it's going to have additional information that you can include in that ad, like extensions. There's lots of different ways to configure that ad, but what's going to trigger that ad is going to be the keywords. So if you think about the overall structure is the account, and then you can have multiple campaigns, and then inside of those campaigns, you're going to have different ad groups, and then every ad group is going to have a set of keywords and its own ads.
Right.
It can get pretty complicated, but here's an idea of what you could look at from a campaign standpoint: brand, conquest, events, finance, geo, so different geographies where you want to target, inventory, new cars, used cars, service. An example, in a brand campaign, you might have brand used, brand new, Toyota cars, Toyota trucks, and then inside that you would have different ads, extended text ads, responsive ads, dynamic ads, and then you might have keywords. Not only are you just going to have keywords, but you're going to have different types of keywords. You might have, for example, exact match keywords. Somebody has to type in exactly that term into Google to trigger the ad. You might use negative keywords to make sure that if you're selling Hondas and somebody types in new Honda lawnmower, you don't want your ad popping for new Honda cars, and somebody click a $7 ad. So that was just a quick overview of the account structure. The reason I brought that up is because I want to talk about in the Google Guidebook, where you can take the campaigns, the ad groups, and the keywords and associate them with the buyer's journey. So the buyer's journey, where to buy, am I getting a good deal? Can I afford it? Is it right for me? Which car is best? So utilizing this information, and this is one of the things that I would recommend that you talk to your search engine marketing company, whatever vendor you're using, if you're using a vendor, which I imagine you are, and see how they have their campaign structure set up. See how they have your ad group structure set up, and ask them these questions. What if you are a customer that is searching, like in real life, pick up your phone, put yourself in the position of a customer that's looking to get the best deal for a Camry. What would that look like? I'm looking for the best deal on a Camry, or best deals on Camrys in Tampa, or what's the best rebate, or what's the best rate, what's the best lease program for a Camry. All of those things, right?
And if your store did a good job, your store should pop up first.
Yeah. And if they're not, maybe they're not looking at your campaign setup this way. And I think, unfortunately, what's kind of happened in automotive is search engine marketing has become so commoditized. It really becomes this process of, I'm going to take, as a vendor, I'm going to take this cookie cutter approach, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to do X, Y, Z for all my Toyota dealerships. And now I can tell you, in my opinion, that every Toyota dealership is different.
Absolutely.
Another interesting thing that I saw today when researching for this podcast is that there's really no way that you can have a search engine marketing campaign that is going to always be 100% in line with what's going on. And the reason why you can't do that is that 15% of the searches every month are new. So the terminology and the way people are searching for content changes. 15% each month is new ways to ask questions. Okay. So it changes. So maybe it's near me. Maybe people stop searching for near me because they just assume that their phone is going to tell you where they're at. But 15% are new searches. So if every month 15% are new searches, and you're using an out-of-the-box cookie-cutter approach for your search engine marketing that really hasn't changed in a year, you're off base.
You're outdated already.
Yeah, you're out, bro, right? So, okay, so this is a great way to look at this, campaigns by ad type. So there's more great information in here, different structures on how you can utilize campaigns and ad groups to really connect with people on how they're really searching for things in real life. And I think that's important to really understand. And then you can see how you might want to pair the keywords: make, model, plus deal, make, model, plus offer, make, model, plus incentive, discount, finance, lease when it comes to shopping. And you got to remember too is that if you have an account structure set up the right way, one way to trigger ads in one ad group, you're not going to want to use that in multiple campaigns. Otherwise, you're going to be competing against yourself. Exactly. Right? So it can be very complex and it can be very hard, but it's also extremely important, regardless of what your budget is. You might be a small dealer and you might have a small budget, but your budget should be spent just as effectively as a large dealership. A lot of other great information in this. I do have some takeaways that we're going to cover kind of at the end when we get into some discussion. So making sure that you're tracking and you got conversion tracking set up. Of course, that's important. Making sure that you're linking your Google AdWords to analytics. Right. Of course, that's important. Looking at what metrics you really want to focus on. And this is really funny. It's interesting topic is really identifying what is important. As a manager in a dealership, you might be going to different marketing meetings by the manufacturer, and you have somebody telling you that you need to look at impression share, and that's going to be the most important thing. You need to be looking at how many people, SRP conversions you're going to get, or how many VDP conversions you're going to get. All of those things are important, yes, right. But is one going to be any more important than the other? I don't think so. No. You really need to identify, a handful of key performance indicators, KPIs, but understand, how they kind of ebb and flow, and how that really translates into vehicle sales. Perfect example. And I'll kind of go off scripted here. So I was emailing with one of our dealers, a larger dealer, and he looked at his analytics, super sharp guy, really has a good understanding. I mean, I think he's a kind of like the prototypical general manager for a dealership today. Have a really good understanding of analytics, but most importantly, really has this pulse or his hand on the pulse of what's happening in the store. He noticed that the traffic from social media inside of his Google Analytics had about a 10 or 15% drop month over month. So that's something that you want to be paying attention to. Right. So you see that. You can see that traffic has gone down from social media, and a lot of different things could cause that. In this case, there's actually money being taken away from social media ads that were driving traffic directly to a dealership's website, and was actually still spending that money in social media and Facebook, but it was getting a different kind of engagement that didn't include somebody going from Facebook to a dealership website, which I believe in. And my recommendation to him was, is this important enough to change our ad strategy because this one key performance indicator is down? Let's look at everything else. Do you have showroom traffic? Are you selling cars? Are you hitting your numbers? If those things are the case, and we're not going to just solve for this one, key performance indicator in analytics go down, right. That isn't what is important. What is important is, how is this new strategy actually netting activity and sales. So I think that's the most important key performance indicators. How many cars are you selling, right?
Cars, at the end of the day, how much cars do we sell? How much money do we make? I mean, that's really what it boils down to. And is our CSI good from all this? I mean, that's the gist of it. That's kind of the way some dealers would take a peek at it. But getting what would be like maybe to boil it down to one main piece from the analytics. I mean, what would be something that a dealer could just kind of glance over at maybe once a week, almost like a gauge there for them that they're doing a good job with that?
So one of the things that we do for our dealers is we create our key performance indicators, right? So if you have just a few minutes to look at your Google ad performance and your analytics performance on a monthly basis, which really, sales managers, your hands are full managing your salespeople, making sure you have enough salespeople, making sure you're doing the training, making sure you're managing customers, making sure that you're handling the CSI that you mentioned. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull up real quick some of what those key performance indicators are. This will only take a second here.
Putting out fires.
Yeah.
Handling, well, no, I mean, just you want to be able to glance over and say, okay, we're performing there. Or like you said, that dealer which was sliding off the social media, which was down 10% from the previous month. I mean, that's pretty big. I mean, that's really, and I just from social media engagement alone, I mean, to slide 10% when there's not a whole lot of engagement usually on a dealer's Facebook page.
So here's an example of an ads report. And you're going to see here that we're going to have some positives and we're going to have some negatives. Some you might look at and be really afraid, but having having a context of what's happened and where they're at. But here's 9 key performance indicators that you might want to consider looking at from your Google Ads report. Total impressions. That means how many times have your ads been presented to customers that have done searches. So we went from 189,000 impressions to 137,000 impressions, a decrease of 27%, which could be alarming. But we had a 35% increase in the cost. So we made a strategic reduction from $30,000 to $20,000 in ad cost. Right, so that's going to kind of cascade across everything. But impressions, clicks, how many people actually clicked on an ad? CTR, click-through rate, how many people actually saw an ad and then clicked on it? So 7% of every time that we served an ad, we got somebody to click on it. That's a very strong number. Cost, self-explanatory. Cost per click. So now we're in a major metro. We have a $2 CPC, 20% reduction from the previous month. Even though we reduced our overall cost from 30 to 20, we were able to reduce the average cost per click, or CPC, from $2.50 to $2. Another important metric, a key performance indicator, is average position. So every time that you serve up an ad, what position are those ads going to be in? It's important to make sure that you're in that number 1 position as often as possible, but depending on what strategy you have or where you want your ads to show and be optimized for based on campaign, based on ad group, that might change.
Okay.
But it's important to look at, am I up, am I down, month over month? That's an important number to know, but just because it's 2.5 and it's not 1.5, you don't know if you should be alarmed or not.
Right. So how would one get to that number 1 position then?
So the only way to get to the number 1 position is make sure that you have the highest bid and you have a high quality ad.
Gotcha.
So there's so many different strategies on how you want to do it from an account standpoint. For example, maybe in your brand campaign, you want to make sure you're in that number 1 position. And it's important to be there in the number 1 position, but maybe if you're in your service campaign and you're bidding against Jiffy Lube, who's willing to pay $15, $20 cost per click, it would just require too much money to get that number 1 position. So you're going to optimize to be in the 2nd or 3rd position.
On those first 3 to 5.
Yes.
That's what pops up first as soon as you Google
exactly
a location and such. So, I mean, to get that cost per click, $2, which it was down from $2.50 to $2. I mean, that's a huge improvement. But just talking about a smaller business like a Jiffy Lube, I mean, you said, $15 per click. I mean, that's almost their oil changes.
Oh yeah. They'll spend that kind of money.
It's very expensive to acquire a customer.
Yeah, they're spending millions of dollars per month in Google search. Millions of dollars per month in Google search. Another key performance indicator is conversions. How many customers are completing some sort of conversion activity on your dealership website? Is Google Ads set up to track conversions? That's what this is showing you. So we had a drop of 35% in conversions, which is going to be in line with the overall cost. Click to conversion rate. That's another KPI that would be important. And then cost per conversion, $2.46. That's important to understand too. And what you're tracking as a conversion might just be somebody getting to a VDP page, not filling out a form. Maybe it's getting to an SRP. Maybe it's getting to your About Us. But those are, to answer your question, and we kind of went off script a little bit, which is good, because I think it's important, is what performance indicators could you be looking at, and getting a little more context around that. What I'm going to do too is I'm going to zip up to 6 key performance indicators that you might want to look at from Google Analytics. So that was Google AdWords. Google Analytics, looking at your sessions. That's how many sessions. A session is kind of like a view. I mean, how many times somebody is viewed. They used to call that visits, and then they called users unique visitors. But now they have it set up with sessions and users. And this is it's interesting too, is even though we had a $10,000 reduction in paid search, we only lost 4% in overall sessions and 1.73% reduction in users. So that was an effective way to reduce $10,000 in overall spend. 3% reduction in page views and an increase in page views per session at 5.44, and the average session duration of 3 minutes and 36 seconds, which is a pretty strong number, and then a bounce rate of 42%. So these are pretty self-explanatory, but this would be considered like visits. Users would be like unique visitors to the site. Page views, how many pages customers actually viewed, and then how many pages per session, 5.44, average session duration, how long a customer spent on your dealership website on average, and then a bounce rate. Bounce rate is basically somebody went to a page on your website, they got there somehow, and then they left without going anyplace else. That's what a bounce rate is.
Right.
So 42% of the customers that visited one page it left. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing, because if you used a deep link URL and you're advertising a $199 a month Camry ad, and customer clicked on that ad and went to a description of the $199 a month, they got what they were looking for.
That exact vehicle.
They got what they wanted. They left. Not necessarily a bad thing. So everything is kind of nuanced.
So the page views per session, and then you get down to average session duration. So basically, if they're looking at 5 pages and within 3.5 minutes, I mean, you've got to make sure that you got about 90 seconds. About 90 seconds to make sure that what you have on those VDPs, those vehicle display pages, are capturing that customer to basically sit right there on that, click on that vehicle, and move forward through your funnel on Google.
Yep. Definitely some good KPIs from search and from Google Analytics. So with that, we spent a bunch of time on that first section, which I kind of thought we would do, but I think that what's important here is you have this information available to you in the links that we're providing. This gives us an opportunity to kind of have a Q&A around these different pieces. So this brings us to the end of section 2 of our Modern Dealer Podcast, episode 005. So we're going to go ahead and take our second break, and then we're going to come back and get into a discussion and wrap things up. Welcome back into section 3 of the Modern Dealer Podcast, episode 005. Today we've been talking about the Google Dealer Guidebook. And this is going to be our final section, where generally I like to have more of a discussion set up for the final segment. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take a couple more minutes and just kind of burn through the last high points that I had marked off on the guidebook itself, and then move into kind of a recap. Does that sound like a good idea, David?
Let's do it.
All right, good. So, and again, all this information is available for you in our show notes. And just so you do understand, is I take the exact slideshow, Google Docs, and I make it publicly available. So if you have that link, you can click on it, whether you have a Google account or not, and you'll be able to open up the exact same document that we're using. So I might even change it as I'm editing the podcast to be able to provide more information based on what we actually used. So what we're going to do now. So the two things I had in the next section was audience targeting basics. And I'm going to keep it pretty basic. So David, do you know, what do you know about retargeting?
So you could take so retargeting is taking a audience that has the same interests as your audience that you had created and retargeting, remarketing to that audience. You can use the same campaign and just basically taking it to a different audience. And when you bring it that way to them, then it's to a new audience basically. So getting them to. Okay.
So you're very close.
Okay.
So this is kind of a good way. I think I get an opportunity to share what I've learned over the last 10 or 15 years of being in the digital marketing technology side, to share it with not only you, but with everybody else. There is some confusion around what remarketing is. So from a basic standpoint, remarketing is when a customer visits your dealership website and you track that customer and you put that customer into an audience.
Okay.
And then you can market to that customer
audience, right.
To that audience. So you think of it this way: is you have a little snippet of code on your dealership website. A customer comes to your website, and once they do something on your site, it might just be as simple as visiting the site. It might be that they visited a specific page or they completed some sort of action, and then you take that customer and you put them in like a bucket of people, right? That's your audience. And now you can remarket or retarget those customers. You can do that with display ads. You can do it with search.
Okay.
You can do it with video ads. So it's specifically customers that have visited your website, completed some sort of action. Now you know who they are, and you can get really you can get really detailed on what messaging that you want to show to them. So, for example, one of the things that we do is we have dynamic VDP retargeting. If a customer visits your dealership website, looks at a specific vehicle on your site, actually looks at up to 10 different vehicles. When the customer leaves your site and goes someplace else on the internet, all of those internet websites have ads on them. The Google platform allows vendors to be able to present ads to different people. Mm-hmm. We can identify if that customer visited your site, and if they did, what vehicle they looked at. Right. And then when we show them an ad, we show them a specific vehicle ad. So it's almost like taking that VDP and following them around the internet.
So if your customer left your dealership website, went over to Whole Foods and started shopping, and then all of a sudden that Prius they were looking at is popping up on the Whole Foods website.
That exact Prius, yep, with 5 or 6 different video images. So that's a way to do remarketing. So that's what retargeting is. So I told you we're going to pick about 7 or 8 different things you can specifically look at. What is your retargeting strategy? What are you doing right now? This will be a question for you as a sales manager or as a dealer to ask your digital agency, what are we doing for retargeting? Customers come to our dealership website, and what kind of ads are we showing them? Are we showing Camry shoppers Camrys? Are we showing Corolla customers Corollas? Are we showing Tacoma customers lube oil filter coupons? What are you doing? Where what happens when a customer lands clicks on that ad? Right. Is it the right strategy that you want? So that's a big takeaway. What you were talking about was lookalike audiences.
Lookalike audience, okay.
Similar audiences, where you can take that group of people and then you can say, hey, Google, find me more customers like this, which is a great strategy. We're not going to dig into that too much because we're running low on time.
I was in the ballpark.
You definitely were. You definitely were. I and I say that
I'm new to the nicest
in the nicest way possible. Is that I've had a passion around technology. You can see that computer behind you. That's from 1993. I bought that new. So I've been at this game a while. That was before the internet was the internet, before www was a thing, before email was around.
Wow.
So that's been my passion for a long time. The next piece we're just going to quickly go over is customer match. This allows you to re-engage with other form of existing customers. So with remarketing, we're engaging with customers that you've already connected with because they visited your website. Another way to do it is to take your CRM or DMS data export it into a file, upload it to Google, and Google is going to match those customers with people on the Google platform. So you can take your customers from your DMS, from your CRM, you put it in a specific format, and you hash it so you keep everything secure. You upload it into the Google platform. Google is going to take that information, first name, last name, email address, phone number, and try to find those customers on the Google platform. If they're on the Google platform, now when they log into Gmail, they log into YouTube, you're going to be able to say, hey, that's my customer. I want to show them this ad.
So now, myself, I've never uploaded a customer list like that. So if we exported from the CRM, we brought it over to Google, how would you go to your advertiser and say, hey, would your advertiser do that for you? Who would do that for you as a dealer?
So typically, you would want your search engine marketing or digital agency to handle that. So if you're doing TrueView advertising, which we covered a couple weeks ago in a previous episode, get with them. Who's doing your video? Because you can use that customer match list with YouTube. Get with your search engine marketing company. So if you're doing SEM, you're doing Google Ads, you can use that list with them. Are you doing any display ads? You can also do it with display ads too. So search, display, video, customer match. So that's one of our 8 takeaways. Boom. So remarketing and customer match. Ready to buy. There's a couple more. I thought this was a good one. So this is audience targeting, and we talked about this during our YouTube episode, and I thought it was a good opportunity to address this again. So customers. So potential dealers, salespeople, sales managers would get an understanding of how you can use the power of the Google platform. So Google has what they call in-market audiences. And you can take this audience, very similar to like your retargeting audience, which is specifically customers that visited your website, or you created an audience with your CRM data. You can also grab a pre-built audience that Google made. And one of their audiences that they've pre-built is called an in-market audience. Now, you can target that group of people, and you can also put a geo fence around it. So you're not advertising people in Ohio when you're selling cars in Tampa. But you can take all those customers in this market area that's in that in-market audience. What's cool about that is that Google knows where that customer has been. Google knows what type of content that they've been searching for. Google knows the reach and frequency of the visits to different pages. You, as a dealer, would never know if a customer went to kbb.com, went to cargurus.com, went to autotrader.com, went to cars.com, went to all these other sites or YouTube and what videos they're searching. Google does.
So Google, getting all that information, would consider you as a in-market buyer because of just your visits, because you've been to KBB, because you've been to Car Gurus, because you've been to all these different sites. Google picked up on that, and now that's how they create that in-market audience. Because I didn't know how they, I'm like, how do you guys know if they're in market or not? But I mean, simply, it makes sense,
Yeah, I mean, so Google recently, over the last couple of years, they've taken all of their platforms, whether it's Google Display Network or YouTube or Google Play or Gmail, and they have 8 different platforms that they're gathering data on, 1 billion active users, a lot of data. They use that to identify what customers have done. I think this little graph here kind of shows you kind of what they're looking at, what their journey is, right? So, for example, maybe a customer visited multiple auto manufacturer or aggregator sites. Maybe they compared safety features on a review site. Maybe they watched videos. Maybe they went to a dealership website. Google knows that. They take those customers as in-market customers and drop them into this audience. Your SEM provider or your display provider, your digital agency, they can segment that by manufacturer too. They can also segment it by different types of activities. Like, are they looking for a loan? Are they looking to service a vehicle? Are they looking to purchase a new vehicle? Are they looking to purchase a used vehicle? Right. So you can segment that down. So if you're a Toyota dealer or you're a Honda dealer or you're a Nissan dealer, maybe you want to say, okay, I want all in-market customers just for my make, or in my micro targeting audience, maybe 5 miles from the dealership, I want to pull in all Ford buyers, all Chevy buyers, all Chrysler buyers, all Dodge buyers, all the major OEMs, into one in-market audience that I want to do my one branding campaign that includes, why buy from us? Because we have a lifetime warranty. Because we have a great selection. Because we have this great online shopping experience.
So that's a great way to get with your advertising agency to strategize on how to target. Because as a dealer, I mean, I don't know if a dealer principal or GM, who's sitting down with your advertiser to say, hey, how are we going to target a new audience like this? Mm-hmm. So I mean, as you said, picking up from this end market audience. I mean, that's
pretty powerful stuff.
Yeah, it's blowing my mind right now. It's just like, wow.
The in market audience, you got to realize that people are going in and coming out of that audience every day. It's a live audience.
Yeah.
So it is something that they're doing all the heavy lifting, but you'll only utilize it if you're utilizing it. So that's one of my tips for today. In market audiences. Future growth. The one key area that I wanted to talk about here was measurement with store visits and some attribution, and then also automated bidding. So there's just a couple things I want to get on this. But, before we get into this, I want to just take a minute to kind of reconnect with the information that we want to be able to share. In the automotive industry, in this digital marketing space, there's so many voices about making sure that you're tracking this or you're measuring that. And you have to become an expert in Google Analytics, and you have to become an expert in what is your KPI in this area, and what's your impression share, and what's your conversion rate.
It's mind-blowing.
I mean, you can go blind looking at the data. Now, I grew up in the car business because my dad was in the car business, so I've been kicking around the car business since I was very young. And one of the messages, and actually I do want to give a shout out to my dad. I know that he watches these episodes, so I appreciate you very much, and I appreciate all the lessons that you taught me as I was growing up and give me really a passion for this business. But one of the things that I did learn from him is that what is most important is you have to have your focus on ringing the till. Is this going to make you money? Is this going to help you sell more cars? So don't pay attention to the pennies and miss out on the dollars. Right. Yes, this stuff is important. Yes, you should have a good understanding. This, I think, the Modern Dealer Podcast is a great way to learn about these things, but it cannot be and should not be where your main focus is at. Your main focus is take care of your salespeople. Take care of the customers that are coming into the dealership. Take care to train a process. Make sure that the process that a customer is having prior to the visit is being matched on the dealership showroom. So that's my soapbox for today's episode, is making sure this is important, yes, but.
Right. I mean, it's just like if you sat with an advertiser. Let's go back 20 years ago, and you sat with an advertiser, and they said, okay, do you want to be on a Discovery Channel? Do you want to be on soap operas? What channel do you want for your commercials to appear on? And this right here is just giving you, that view of like, okay, where are my customers coming from? I mean, how should we tailor our advertisements to match the customers, to I mean, that's the way to bring the customers.
Yeah, absolutely. So I did put a little mark. So as you can see, if you go through this document, I put little red arrows on pieces of information that I wanted to share during our podcast here, and I put a little arrow on the 15%. So 15% of queries on Google.com are new every day. So like it says right there on the screen, marketing to car buyers isn't always easy, because 15% of queries on Google.com are new every day. 15%. So if you don't know what does that make sense to you?
That's a lot.
It's crazy, right?
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's
so these are new queries. These are new ways customers are asking questions and Googling information on Google. So anyways, I thought that was important to kind of get your mind around. It's something that you do have to work on. Okay, so automated bidding. So I'm not going to go too much in this because we could spend a whole episode on automated bidding. I have been against the idea of automated bidding for a long time. And the reason I've been against it is because, this whole idea of trying to outsmart Google at their game, I think is a losing battle. Meaning that you have these automated bidding platforms. I'm not even going to say any names, but there's a bunch of them out there that's saying that we're going to get you in the number one position for cheaper because we use automation tools, we use artificial intelligence, machine learning. We got all these special algorithms. You're not going to outsmart Google at their game. $24 billion of Google's bottom line comes from search. Paid search. So you're not going to outsmart them. They got thousands of engineers making changes every single day. What you can do now, though, so what I'm saying is that I've been against using automated bidding, third-party automated bidding sites, and we've experimented with different types of automated bidding within the ads platform. And the bottom line is, like I said earlier, if you want to get the number one spot, you need to have a high bid, and you need to have a high rank. So your quality has to be there and your bid has to be there. Now, Google has made some changes recently, and then we're going to get into this, is they have a maximize conversions automated bidding solution right inside of ads. And we found this to be fantastically successful. So what this means is Google now has an automated bidding solution that is designed specifically to maximize conversions. So what do I mean by that? So I'll just read how Google explains this about maximizing conversions bidding. Maximize Conversions automatically sets bids to help get the most conversions for your campaign while spending your budget. It uses advanced machine learning to automatically optimize bids and offers auction time bidding capabilities that tailor bids for each and every auction. What they mean by that, each and every auction, every time somebody does a search, there's an auction that takes place. Everybody that's bidding on that keyword in that area participates in that auction. Whoever wins the auction is in the number one spot. Whoever comes in the second is in the second spot and the third spot. There's a lot of things going on there. So this article that I'll include a link explains how that works. But this bidding strategy allowed us to, I want to say, decreased our cost per click 50%. And that led us to go to our dealers and say, we're recommending that you take 20 to 30% of your search budget and allocate it elsewhere. Allocate it to social, allocate it to video, allocate it to display, move over to using this maximize conversion bidding strategy. You're not going to lose any traffic, but you're going to pick up a bunch of more traffic because of where you're allocating your budgets.
So to me, it sounded like at first that if I'm spending the most, I'm going to be on top of the search, but that's not true.
So a lot of things go into it, but basically whoever has the highest bid and who has the highest ad rank is going to get that number one position. So it's a balance. So if you have a poor ad rank, but you're bidding higher, you might not get the number one position because of the content that's in your ad isn't going to be relevant. Google's number one goal with search is relevance.
Got it.
And that's how
Just
they
like
and that's how they do it. Yep.
So if you're selling cars, but your ad was about peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and clearly it doesn't match, so that's going to put you further down. But you spend a ton of money on talking about peanut butter and jelly, but it just didn't match with your advertisement.
Exactly.
Got it.
Exactly. All right. So as we go into the last couple points in the last section of the boot camp. Hold on. Let's open this back up. All right. So what else did I
was down in growth measurement.
Store visits. Okay, so the last one is store visits. So this is something that's new. They rolled this out for AdWords first, and then they've recently rolled this out for Google Analytics. So here's the big idea about store visits. So Google tracks mobile devices. Google knows you on your mobile device. Google knows the location of all of the businesses in the world, right? They pretty much get that. And a lot of times they get that information from Google My Business. So you create your business online. They know where it's at. They know where it's at from a latitude, longitude standpoint. And if you have your mobile device inside of that business.
Of that geolocation.
Yes.
Right.
So now what Google's able to do, and they actually rolled this out as a beta, and we were lucky enough to have 2 of our stores in that beta 3 or 4 years ago for Google AdWords. And what that showed us on the Google Ads side is if a customer searched for your business, they were served they were served an ad and they clicked on an ad. Now you can say out of all the customers that clicked on one of your ads inside your ad account, did those customers end up in your physical location? So now they're translating what's happening online to what's happening offline, right? So that can show you the success of your Google Ads account on how successful it is to get customers in your showroom. Now, when it comes out right down to it, what is most important is getting that face-to-face opportunity to sell a car.
Right.
So if you're not getting that, you're doing something wrong.
So Google will track it. So if a customer was on your site and then
they clicked on an ad.
They click on an ad, and then they actually, when they physically show up, Google knows they physically showed up due to the geofencing of your store.
Yep.
Ooh, man, that's
Yep,
fun.
and it'll show you inside your store visits inside of your Google Ads platform. Now, they've also recently added that to Google Analytics, so not only from your paid ads, but you can also see that from all your organic traffic as well. Okay. So this is our last tip. This is tip number 8 that I had set up is a store visit. So that's the 8th thing that you want to talk about with your digital marketing provider and any consultants that you might be working with is, do we have store visits turned on in our ads account? Do I have access to it? Can I see it? And the same thing is your Google Analytics. Log into your Google Analytics. If you don't have access to your Google Analytics, you should get it. Again, with a grain of salt. Don't spend 5 hours a day learning about Google Analytics. It's important to know and have a good understanding, and it should be part of your overall growth as somebody within our lovely industry, automotive retail. But first and foremost, you got to be taking care of your customers, taking care of your salespeople, looking at your sales processes, doing a better job, selling more cars, making more money, and generating more profit for your dealership.
As any old sales manager would say, is like, get your customer in here into the store.
Yeah.
So Google has gotten the customer into the store, and it's done its, through your advertising, it's done a good job. And now you can track that customer really did show up just from the geofencing of that. So that's impressive. That's
good stuff, right?
No, that's really good stuff because to me, that's that's a aha moment for me.
All right, so we're on 26 minutes in our third section. We have to close this down before 29, so we just got a couple minutes. I'm going to just quickly go over the 8 things, and then we'll say our goodbye. So number 1, fundamentals, speed. 3 seconds or faster is the benchmark. Do your speed test. Number 2, building your keywords, your strategy around the customer journey. Moving into basics, remarketing and customer match. Being able to do retargeting and customer match with your search display and video. Differentiators, location extensions. Actually, we skipped that one, but we did talk about in-market audiences. Utilize in-market for your search, your display, and your video. And then wrapping up with automated bidding. Are you using the maximized conversion bidding strategy? I highly recommend it. And then get away from any third-party bidding optimization. I think that all that does is add cost and add markup that you might not be aware that you're paying. And then finally, store visits, both for Google Ads and for Google Analytics. So with that, David, what do we say?
It's a wrap.
It's a wrap.
Put a fork in it. We're done. I mean, that was a lot of content to cover, and I know our time is short, but those 8 tips, it's a lot. And as I said, go to the show notes, take a look at all that, and pick and choose what's going to be best for your store and what to use. And before I always forget, for some reason I forgot today in the beginning of it, be sure to hit subscribe. Please. And if you like the Modern Dealer Podcast, hit us up in the notes, some comments, some shares.
Please, that'd be great.
Just keep it coming, and we will see you on the next episode. Episode 006 is coming up next week, so be sure to stay on top of it.
Yep, and, episode 005 is in the can.